The American Academy of Pediatrics released an alarming study yesterday that white children with autism appear to be receiving more medical care than children who are Black or Hispanic and have the disorder. And with us today to discuss the issues surrounding autism in children are Geraldine Turner-Bright. Her 15-year-old son, Robert, is autistic. Thank you so much for joining us. Do you like Jerry or Geraldine?
Jerry.
Jerry, all right. As well as Dr. Zonya Mitchell, who is a clinical research fellow in neuropsychology. Mitchell's working on a new pioneering study at Albert Einstein College of Medicine and 3 other universities to determine the genetic causes of autism in African Americans. So, Zonya, I want to start with you. First of all, describe for me what exactly is autism.
So autism is a neurodevelopmental disorder starting in childhood. It is characterized by deficits in social skills, communication difficulties, sensory processing problems, and often restricted and repetitive behaviors.
We just have this report talking about the discrepancy of care with regards to children with autism who are African American and Hispanic versus those who are white. But there are also some reports that indicate that we're seeing an increasing number of African American children, particularly boys, diagnosed with autism. What light can you shed on that?
Well, this is what we're trying to understand, and so our study, which is looking at genetics in African Americans with autism, as well as the social environmental barriers to early diagnosis and misdiagnosis, will hopefully shed some light on, are there increasing numbers or were they not being diagnosed before?
And Jerry, your son is autistic.
Yes.
How old was he when he was diagnosed?
1.3 years.
When did you first realize that he wasn't developing, like, say, other children? I don't want to say normal, but like other kids. When did you notice a difference?
He was 9 months old. He was hitting all of his milestones early or on time. And by the time that he reached about 11 and a half months, right before he started walking, the gains that he had made, he started losing them. So he started walking after his first birthday. And of course we were like, oh, shoo, he did that. He's okay, but your gut tells you otherwise, because my son has what is described as regressive autism, meaning that all of the gains that he made up until the time he was 1, he lost them. So by the time that we got the diagnosis at 1.3, my son had stopped babbling, was not walking, not cruising the sofa. He lost everything that he had gained in a year's time that he should have been now building on. He lost it. He became a silent child.
Zonya, I wanted to ask you a question. What are some of the signs that a parent should be looking for? Obviously, Jerry has indicated some of what she sensed early on and realized that Robert, her son, needed to be taken in for some sort of diagnosis. But are there general signs that we could be looking for as parents early on?
You should be paying attention to just normal developmental patterns. Is your child meeting them on time? Are they interactive socially? Are they developing language like they should? Are they emotionally reciprocal? As well as maybe other motor developmental things. Are they flexible? Are they being affected by sensory information differently than your other children, or if it's your only child, differently than you would expect?
Jerry, I'm curious as to the community. What is the community like? Have you been able to find support from other groups, from other parents? Have you been able to find the resources that you need to help you deal with and raise Robert?
Well, in the communities of color, and that includes African American, Latino, Asian, Indian, it's very limited. A dear friend, Camille Proctor, is the founder and executive director of the Color of Autism, which is a foundation dealing with the issues of autism within communities of color, not just African American, because we have value systems and mores that are different. And our children.
So what would make it different from from a community of color, how would you handle the treatment of autism differently from other communities?
That's a great question, because we come from different places. We're Southern, we're West Indian, we're African, we treat the upbringing of children very differently than European cultures. Children are meant to be obedient. They are meant to be, smart, speak when you're spoken to, and we like to show our children off. They are a legacy, particularly for people that have been once enslaved. Our children truly are our prized possessions.
Sure.
And when you have a child that is exhibiting less than typical behaviors, and you're unsure, and then you get the diagnosis, for any parent, regardless of their race, it's devastating. It is devastating. And because there is such limited information within the communities of color, the Black community in particular, our children are first thought they'll grow out of it. They're just being obstinate. They're stubborn. They're just like they're fill in the blank. And it really impedes parents from seeking a diagnosis. And our children, and she'll attest, I'm sure, are usually misdiagnosed and diagnosed much later than children in the European community. And that we use that term so that it's inclusive.
It includes everyone. And to that end, Zonya, what is that time frame, that very critical time frame in terms of getting diagnosis? I mean, is there a point where if you are 1, 2, 3 years behind, that care is in some ways too late?
Well, the earlier the better. Early intervention has been shown to increase skills that are deficit in children with autism. And so if you're being diagnosed at 2 versus 7, you're obviously ahead of the game in terms of catching up with your peers.
Have you seen dramatic changes in your research over, say, the past several years in terms of what we now know about autism within the communities of color? The progress is still yet to be made?
People of African descent have been grossly underrepresented in especially genetic studies in autism. And so the National Institute of Health has given us this 5-year grant to do more research so that we can have better understanding. And so if we are successful, we have African Americans participating, we'll be able to answer these questions.
And Jerry, your son is 15 now.
He's 15.
Correct. And I can only imagine how much you've had to learn as your son grows in terms of the kind of care that he needs. What sort of resources are you seeing now that are available to new parents of children who are autistic that say you didn't have?
Oh my gosh, it's night and day. I call when Robert was diagnosed in 1998. That was the dark ages. It has, in every year, it's much better for parents getting a diagnosis, within the last 5 years than in the last 15. We had limited resources. There was no protocol when we were given Robert's diagnosis. If our child, many times you will hear parents with children around Robert's age who have children that are autistic say it would have been better if they had gotten a diagnosis of cancer. At least there's a protocol. Right. There's no protocol. Parents are given the diagnosis and sort of pushed out into the world and told good luck. And it makes there are some quacks and quackery in because parents are looking for a cure. And but he is doing amazingly, and he is a really happy, energetic
He's a typical
boy.
15-year-old.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And I'm not sure which is puberty and which is autism, because there's some behaviors that are interesting.
Okay. Well, thank you both for joining us, Dr. Zonya Mitchell.
Thank you.
And Jerry Wright.
Jerry.
All right. Thank you, ladies. And you are watching Our Take.